Yeah, thank you for having us. As she said, my name's Brandon Ray. I'm with Seedtag, and Seedtag is an AI company that does contextual advertising in a cookieless and privacy-compliant manner to align brand messages next to content that they care about all across the web. I have the pleasure of speaking with these two that have a long-standing relationship. So I'll go ahead and Gina, if you want to tell them a little bit about your day-to-day.
Test, there we go. Well, good morning, everyone. Again, my name is Gina Scott, and I am the Vice President of Partner Services at the NFL Players Association. So while the NFLPA is a union, I am on the for-profit side of our business, and my sole focus is to generate revenue for players off the field. So NFL Players Incorporated, we are the licensing agency of all active professional football players, and I always say licensing agency because we don't consider ourselves sports and entertainment as a priority. So we put ourselves right alongside other licensing companies like Disney, and we often look at where we fall on those licensing lists. So one interesting fact about our licensing agency is that we were the first professional organization to actually form a licensing agency for our athletes. And since then, we have consulted with other leagues, be it the NBA, the women's national team, every other major sports association about how to create a comparable group licensing program for their athletes.
Love it. Patrick?
Great, thank you. Patrick Campion, and I do work on Sleep Number's marketing team, heading up our consumer insights, marketing planning, loyalty, and our brand partnerships, which is highly relevant for this. So I do get the pleasure of leading a great team that works on our NFL partnerships, and I say that plural because we are a league partner, we are an NFLPA partner, we have 4 club partners, including our hosts, the Chiefs here, and then we also have partnerships with the Professional Football Athletic Trainer Society, the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So you can see from that, our approach is to be really, really deep into the NFL and the whole culture and ecosystem of it because of how embedded we are within this sport. So our approach, we'll get into a little later, is very deep into the football ops side of it. So that explains a lot of the partnerships, including our player partnerships.
Awesome. So just to start things off, like, how did this whole thing emerge for Sleep Number? Like, was this replacing something that you had previously done, or how did you decide that this was the platform that you wanted to?
Yeah, it had been a number of years since Sleep Number had been in sports. We actually we were Minneapolis-based. We had a great agreement with Kevin Garnett a while ago when he was still at Timberwolves, but we kind of moved away from it. So there wasn't a sports marketing budget to go after something. We had, in advance of the 2016 Olympics, we wanted to tell our story in a different way, right? And sleep has become a much better part of culture and understanding of culture. It used to be this badge of honor, like, I only get 4 hours a night of sleep, where you all see in society and top tier athletes, they get that, like everything else they do, they need to use sleep along with their nutrition and their training as a competitive advantage. And so we wanted to tell that story that wasn't us telling it, but working with athletes to tell it. So in advance of the 2016 Olympics in Rio, we partnered with 2 great triathletes to tell that story. And not surprising, we're kind of dipping our toe in the water. We weren't going to sign Michael Phelps. We signed Gwen Jorgensen, who was current world champion in triathlon, but it was one of those sports where general public wasn't paying attention to it except every 4 years. She went on to win the gold, and it was our test case to like, yep, this is our most engaged content we have. And then we looked around and said, who are the platforms and partners we wanted to work with? And we had great conversations because in sport at that time, everybody was looking at, or the leading organizations were looking at, hey, this sleep piece is something that we can use. So we had great conversations within MLB, NBA, got to the NFL, and we said there's 3 reasons there, is that 1, the league, the PA, understood that what we needed to do was not just brand awareness. It was we had to work on the football ops side, on the player side, to really make a difference. So the league got that. 2, oh, by the way, it's the biggest sports and entertainment platform in North America because we needed something that was going to be something that really, really amplified. And we needed to have that excitement from the other partner to make this all happen. Because it's a really difficult partnership that we created, and that, through, I always say that through Gwen Jorgensen, we got to the NFL, we got to the place we're in, and it's been, we just signed a 5-year extension with the league. So our 5-year initial deal, thank you, and with the PA. So it's been great. It's just, that platform has been so good for us.
And so, Gina, when they sign the deal and you're looking to sort of onboard them and bring them in, did you have enough time to do that?
We didn't have enough time. We did not have as much time as Patrick would have liked, and I probably shouldn't tell you how many hours of sleep I got last night, so we'll talk about that later. No, so I will say normally with our onboarding process with sponsors, it is very, very, very short. Like typically, I think we met at Super Bowl, January, early February, and then we were pretty much up to speed. We had to get up to speed by summer. That is not a lot of time in OR, especially to understand the complexity of what the Sleep Number partnership was all about. So I think literally Patrick and I say we had a marathon dating relationship where it was really important for us to get to know, okay, what are your goals? And Patrick outlined what their goals were, but we had to do a lot of listening because it was not about a bed. This was a complex relationship. We really had to think about how were we going to message this partnership to over 2,000 active players, first and foremost, because it just wasn't about a transactional relationship. We were going into an area that we had not really ventured in before with the sleep technology and performance data and really trying to get that message home. And again, we met in late January, early February. Camp was starting in July. And so we had a matter of months to get the messaging, the introduction, and figure out the right launch plan to make sure year one was going to be successful for players.
And it's not like you can just throw them a swag bag and have them, do a couple of things. We're talking about sleep. We're talking about mattresses and things. And, Patrick, you mentioned a very interesting piece is these other sports, these athletes are traveling, every single night. Whereas in the NFL, 6 nights out of the week, they're resting at home. So, again, how do you work with these players? So you had to identify the players, correct? That we might want to.
It actually was not. The initial program was available for all players. So as I said, we've got a subset. When you count how many active players that are on rosters, our base number can be as high as 2,350 when we're going through practice squad players. So that was a big part of the process, working with Sleep Number to identify which subset of players were going to be eligible for the overall partnership before they even got to which players were going to align with their goals. So the beauty of the partnership, and we were so excited because this was a new revolutionary partnership that every single player would be able to tap into. And that was key for us, and that was very, very different. They weren't getting a Madden game, they weren't getting lift credits, so this was something from a scale perspective we had never done before.
And so with Patrick, working with these NFL players, how does their sleep habits translate to your customers?
Yeah, no, and I'll build off the last piece there is our partnership was based on getting every single player in the NFL on a Sleep Number bed. That's a monumental task because, to Gina's point, they had sent them a Madden game before, right? And so we knew it needed to be a pull from the player side and the team side, not a push. Because if we were pushing it, it wasn't going to get to the right person. They weren't going to know what to do with it. We have a complicated product that if you don't understand it, you don't know what to do with it, right? It's not like your normal bed, you just go lay on it. It's a smart bed where it connects to your Wi-Fi, you can read out your sleep scores, your sleep habits. That is a lot of education. So it was creating this, we knew partnering with the NFLPA, number one, and two, with the athletic trainers to educate them and pull it was a huge, huge piece of it, right? And the other,
keeping it in their home market.
Yeah, and keep in their home market. That, again, most of these guys, I live in Minneapolis, if you play for the Vikings, 80% of those guys do not live in Minneapolis in the off season, right? So if they got that bed and had it in Houston, Miami, and it wasn't when they were playing, that doesn't get the full benefit for them and there for us. And that gets to your point. Like, we knew from, like I said, where I started with our relationships on the Olympic side, that it doesn't take a translation. Like, you're not going to be Olympic gold winning triathlete. You're not going to be playing in Arrowhead on Sunday, but you get quality sleep leading to their performance is going to affect your world. Whether you want to run a 5K, whether you want to be a better dad, whether you want to, just function better at work that day. And so that piece of it, we always go to, and there's a buzzword in here that's overused, but, build an authentic story and then tell that authentic story. And that is where the players come in, because it isn't about somebody on the team side saying, yep, we're a partner with Sleep Number. It isn't about, if you went to a game at Arrowhead here and love our cheap partnership, I would have to kick you to say, oh, look at the LED boards right now. That's where our thing is, And again, everybody has different objectives. Our objective wasn't just putting the logo up there. It was having Travis Kelce, Juju Smith-Schuster, Clyde Edwards-Helaire talk about authentically how they're benefiting from it and what that means to their lives on and off the field. And building content that shows them in a different way. Our content is not based on, we're not competing with the team's content. We're not competing with ESPN or any NFL Network coverage. It's a different view of what the players are doing to be at their best and reach their full potential. We use the team's platforms for that. We use the NFL's platforms for that, but it's just very different. And people translate it very well. You don't need to translate for it, right?
And you asked a point earlier about the players, and it wasn't about let's go for the star on the team, right? There had to be some process to really align with the right players, because it wasn't about let's go get a player to, promote it. As Patrick said, it was about the technology, educating them on the platform, the entire 360, just what was going on with their sleep habits. So player selection, that's where it was laser focused on, okay, you've got this team partnership. Now, Patrick, which players are you actually going to go and work with to be able to align and tell your story and really be authentic to the partnership?
So how long did that take? I mean, that had to have been a complex process.
Yeah, I mean, you learn. The first year, there was education because none of the players were on bets, right? And you were trying to get them up to speed quickly to tell that story. So the very first year, our storytelling was all, like with the Vikings and the Cowboys, two of our team partners. It was like, we're taking a rookie, coming and making the transition from a high program in college, but to play for the Vikings or the Cowboys in the NFL, that's a big transition. You could have played at Ohio State, you could have played at Alabama, but what does it take? Because the guy across from you is just as good or better than you, right? So we had a rookie, we had somebody at the top of their game trying to stay at the top of their game, and then we had, like my favorite one is Terrence Newman, who at that point was like a 37-year-old cornerback. There's only one other cornerback in the league that's played at that age, at that speed position. But Terrence was meticulous about everything he did. He was a biology major at K-State. He could talk sleep science with anybody. And it was awesome because that storyline across all three, highly relevant, because people could tell, yeah, I see how they're working through this competitive advantage. So it was finding the right storylines and the right players to tell that storyline, right? And then it's built. So once the players are on the product, like 80% of NFL players at this point are on a Sleep Number bet. Our lives are a lot easier because come a certain time of the year, we need to tell a storyline. We've got almost every player in the NFL we can tell that storyline with, right? So at Super Bowl, we had Cooper Kupp come on and tell the story from a year ago, winning the MVP, and he's been on a bed for 3 years, right? Or, obviously people see our Dak Prescott stuff, but we can pull stories across everything because we got 80%, it's like 1,800 players that are on a bed that understand the bed to tell the story. So the great thing there is it's a hell of a lot of work to get to that point where we started, but now as a brand, our moat is huge. Like we have competitors that come in and do team deals, but I can tell you in this room, like one of our competitors, a team deal with both San Francisco and the Broncos. And you know what? Their whole training staff is on a Sleep Number bed, and 80% of the players are on a Sleep Number bed. So that authenticity, we're hard to displace in that market. Like when that partner or that competitor went against San Francisco, we were like, great. We talked to George Kittle, we talked to Deebo Samuel, and they posted about their Sleep Number bet. Like, so again, that moat for us is so big.
And that 80%, I will say that's a unique number. So players, they get one bed through their life cycle. It's not they're getting a new bed every single year. So to have that reach, and 80% of all NFL players through the life of the partnership now, you know, they're on Sleep Number beds. That's a huge number for us because, again, this was not, you know, a simple product and a simple message to actually like communicate and really educate the players on. So to reach that high percentage across all of our player membership for such a complicated product and such a personal product. Sleep data is very, very personal. So they're having to really open themselves up and import a lot of their personal data. So that's a huge number that we do not take lightly when we say 80% of players are on a Sleep Number bed, and the bed is in their home market where they play, which is, again, huge.
It's fascinating. So, like, again, with this unique partnership that you have, what other, like, tips have you learned for people that are just starting out, like, in their, you know, partnership with the NFL or the NFLPA? Like, how do you have an equitable sort of relationship with them?
Yeah, I would say, again, that the beauty of, I think, what made this dynamic work, and this is an approach that we take with all of our partners, I always say it's about the partner, right? Like, again, we have a very limited time to understand what are their goals and objectives, right? Our players are not going anywhere. Whatever type of player you need to support your product, we've got it. We've got 2,000 players, but it is really understanding what a partner's goals and objectives are so we can then either put our entire membership forward to help amplify that message or find the right player that's going to amplify and support their campaign. So for us, it is really, really critical to understand when you've got big brands like Sleep Number investing in partnerships like the NFL, what is your goal? Like, yeah, it's not about selling mattresses. So we got that off the table. And so we really had to understand what their metrics were and what their objectives are so we could deliver a good platform for them.
And I think that's really important because it is like with us in the conversations early on with Gina, it was like, okay, what are the shared objectives with us? Because we're not trying to push an objective on a PA or a player because that's going to be a hard road to hoe. But we know our shared objectives in terms of health and safety. You know, we talked about international travel, things like that. That's a shared objective to build off of. And to Gina's point about players, you know, our relationship with PA is great because we can be, you know, hey, we are focused on American Cancer Society, right? Let's find the shared passions with players that also share that, right? And that's an amazing story, right? So we can go and tell that story in just an authentic way. We're doing it with a player being drafted, hopefully tonight, from Clemson, Brian Reese. But same thing, he's committed to cancer and cancer awareness. That's a cause we're on. And so for me, it's a good example of working with the PA because they have a strong understanding across that group of 2,300 players who has that passion, right? And talking about it and sharing that, then it's super authentic because once we're both telling the same story and having the players tell a story, the consumer gets that.
And also, Sleep Number offered something that we were looking for on our membership. So Sleep Number was the first company. So I want to go back to us being a licensing agency. So when you're dealing with personal data for players, we, the NFLPA, on behalf of the players, we own that data. That is not commercialized. That is not something as a league partner you get to use and commercialize. So Sleep Number was a great partner that came in where we could say, wow, let's work together on what would it look like if you ever wanted to license the personal data. And so we were going into a new area, and we're still going into a new area with performance data and sleep technology. So what a great partner to say, wow, now we can work with you on this category that we wanted to get into, and they were helping us to lead that charge, and will continue to help do that as well. So when we talk about shared goals and objectives, like it meant as much to our players and the road that we're trying to build for our players, and Sleep Number came in, and I remember Patrick saying, we can help you do that. And it's like they had everything there, and it was just a matter of when we wanted to tap into it. But those were magic words to us, like, oh, we can help you do that.
So with the draft taking place, how many folks from the NFLPA do you have on site this weekend or these last few days?
Not very many. We only had probably, I would say, less than 20 of our staff were here. Again, our focus is really to support the players. So in addition to the 17 players that will walk the red carpet, 18 will be patched in virtually. We actually brought an additional 30 draft eligible players into Kansas City this week. They are actually all departing today to experience the draft, and we engage with our players with a very small staff, so we didn't have very many, but tons of players.
And so, Patrick, you already mentioned a player from Clemson. You already have your eye on a few that, you know, kind of match your brand values and things like that?
Yeah, we definitely, so again, the great thing about the NFL is it's 365 days a year, like, right? And the Chiefs will attest to that because they don't have any time off when you win a Super Bowl, host a draft, and then go have kickoff here not that long ago, not that long from now. But yeah, so we love that story, again, of taking a top-level draft voice and coming through like the biggest job interview at Combine and Pro Days, and then this life-changing moment for them and their families and generations of their families for some of them at this point. So we love that story. And the other thing that we partner with the PA on is they do an event called the NFLPA Rookie Premiere, which 99% of fans don't know about, but is my favorite event. So they bring the top 40 of the top players to LA is kind of their first, and Gina can describe it more, kind of their,
You're doing a great job.
is kind of, they're kind of setting them up for their future. We are there to meet these. We have a half hour with every one of these players. We've had that since 2018. It's a good chance for us to get to know each of these guys. And it's also good for them to educate them as well. They're coming to this league. We're gonna, you know, they're the future stars of this league. And, you know, what is our role and how can we help them make this transition? So, you know, from that standpoint, it's great because we get to know players, and we often have notes from like, hey, we want to do something. I'll use an example, a great one from here. McCole Hardman. We hadn't done something for McCole Hardman, but we remember him meeting, talking to McCole, great kid, great guy. And it's like, yeah, let's do something with McCole because we have the opportunity here. And that's because, you know, in that process of them entering the league and working with the PA, we could meet them, educate them, and then later work with them.
So it's sort of again, like more of a private event, whereas right now this is a big public display. We talked about the Combine too, and how that's interesting to a brand as well. Can you comment on that a little bit more?
Yeah, no, I mean, again, that's part of that huge process, and because people are so invested of understanding. And for me, the Combine and the draft is this great intersection of college fans and pro fans. A lot of college fans are also pro fans. There are a lot of college fans that are just college fans, but they are super proud of that college player being drafted, right? And that's a badge of honor, and I saw a Michigan shirt in here earlier. My wife's Michigan. I won't say go blue.
Go green.
Go Gators.
Calm down, everybody. But the point is you get that pride, and it's great to see, and you definitely see that at Combine. But it's the same thing. It's that opportunity, and we, again, build an authentic story, tell an authentic story. So we've also used Combine and that look behind the scenes. We did a great series with Josh Jacobs from Alabama, super strong player at the Raiders, like through that process as he was learning and going through it. And that Combine, people can watch it on NFL Network, and you can watch the guy run a 40, but we wanted to get behind it. What is Josh thinking at that time? You know, again, this is a job interview, like, right? And it's a different job interview because you go there, you run, you're in your underwear, you get prodded, like all these things, and just that behind the scenes of what they're thinking at that point. And the Combine's just a great moment for us on that.
And how about with the PA? You know, how are you managing that and maybe introducing them to some potential partners?
Well, again, you talk about an onboarding process, and Combine for some of the players, this is their first introduction to our partner Sleep Number. So it may start at Combine, it may continue at our rookie event, but some of the players, Patrick mentioned Josh, they go on to actually have long-standing ambassador and partnerships with Sleep Number. So again, those events are very critical because we tell our players, like, you know, get to know our brands. They want to get to know you. This is the beginning of long partnerships that they will have with our NFL sponsors that they will be working with. So it is very critical because imagine coming into the league your rookie year and you've already got a great partner like Sleep Number that wants to work with you.
So what's the most common misconception about the NFLPA?
I would say that the biggest misconception is that people think that we are a B2C and a B2B brand, and we aren't. Like, we are not B2B, we are not B2C, we are purely there to support our membership. So everything that we do, we don't have extensive properties or tentpole events that you're gonna see with the league, but everything that we do supports and amplifies our player membership. So most people have never heard of us. You're not gonna see us running an industry ad or a general market ad, because everything that we do really supports, and we do it for our membership, whether it's private events or, again, working with partners. So I would probably say that just understanding who we are on the commercial side of our business.
And I'll say the level of sophistication of the players. You know, like you used to say, oh, a player is a brand. A player is a media company now. And having that support of the PA is at CES. I was just at South by Southwest, the PA's there, and they're there to support the players as businesses, as media companies, and so that's the stuff you don't see, but the players are super sophisticated at this point, even in the 6 years I've been involved with them. Like, again, they are media companies. They get it, and they have a, you know, the NFL's done a great job of helmets off, and that's NFLPA, that's a lot of other things, but super sophisticated, and the support they provide them, because they're all a bunch of small businesses, right?
So yeah, you guys seem all, you know, Sleep Number seems almost like a data and analytics company that just happens to sell mattresses. You know, us being in with AI, how are you leveraging the power of AI to either like do something with these insights from a planning perspective, or maybe it's from a validation, measurement perspective? How's AI changing how you execute?
No, I'll be quick. I know we're getting a little bit of a wrap up here. So two things. One, I mentioned earlier, international travel. So we are working with the PA, NFLPA, and the league on understanding what does it take for international travel. When you have sleep data that shows, hey, here's their circadian rhythm before they went, here's their circadian when they get back, and when are they on a normal circadian rhythm, that will tell the Chiefs when they can go harder in practice or not and not risk player injury. That's one. That's all based on our algorithm and AI. The second one is, you know, just the consumer. We have the world's largest consumer sleep database. We have the largest elite athlete sleep database. Because you're not wearing something, and I've got a watch here that could track my sleep by a great company, Garmin, that's located near here. But what people see is any wearable, like I don't wear it to bed, right? Or if you have nothing against it, a Whoop, an Oura Ring, Fitbit, these have been around for 10 years. The adoption is like this and then like this. The thing about our bed, which works well for the data and then our analysis, is there's nothing to wear, nothing to turn on. As long as it's connected to your Wi-Fi, that data is always there, right? And so then with that data, when you have that kind of data, we're partnering with Mayo, we're partnering with the PA. Like the implications on health and safety are why we're excited about the next 5 years with the PA.
And AI is on the horizon for you, Gina, right?
It is. I think in our world, we have to understand what AI means as it relates to our player name, image, and likeness. But again, when you have partners that are breaking through in this space, and Patrick mentioned our number one thing with the PA, player health and safety. So again, for us, it's working with partners and things that they're doing and to be innovative in this area that align with our number one goal of player safety. So,
Well, I have like 30 more questions, but I think we'll wrap it up. Again, it's been a pleasure talking to you guys. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for being here.